And even if there's ways, being part of a certain gender, or being part of a certain race or culture or class or religion, even if there's ways that we are empowered um, by this hierarchical structure, ways that we feel empowered, nationalism, different things like that, we're still sort of being lazy by bypassing our own independence, our true heart speak, our true expression. Do we really feel this way, or are we relying on being white, or relying on being male, or relying on being straight, relying on these different ways that we could be empowered, sort of using these hierarchies? Is that truly what we believe in our hearts is right? Or if we really dig deep in, can we really witness ways that we don't want this false empowerment, we don't want this false hierarchy of human, we want to cultivate this independence of thought, this our own judgments, our own beliefs, our own truths, from this deep heart space to identify who we are. And isn't that sort of the meaning of freedom, is really uncovering who we are? And maybe taking cues from those of us who have been courageous enough to step forward in a way that's not empowered by the standard, the status quo of the world. So, there's a whole lot here, and obviously I'm sort of going off on a heavy tangent that could definitely is debatable, and there's so many beautiful ways to go with this. But the real point of why I'm looking at these things in my practice, in my yoga groups, in my meditation groups, in my personal one-on-one practices, is it's such an important piece to find our own heart speak, to move internal, and to really witness ways that patterns and conditionings are dictating who we are in this world and how we show up in this world. And it just takes one time, one moment, just one tiny moment of deciding what is really your truth, really just sitting with something that you witness doesn't align with you, just one small thing. I remember, this is one of my favorite stories, because there's all these monumental ways we're patterned and conditioned, and human rights is obviously the biggest piece, but even the way we eat. I remember thinking I had to eat lunch at a specific time of the day between 12 and 1. There was always this moment, and someone said to me, Michelle Adams, one of my nutrition coaches, said to me, "Why do you have to eat lunch then?" She was like, "I don't understand these rules. Like, why are you eating at these different times?" And I was completely blown away by this concept of how was living, my life was being controlled by this, food pyramid, eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe 2 little snacks, like how that, even though I do what I want, I say I'm free, blah, 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 but in reality, I was really living according to these rules that had nothing to do with my body type. They had nothing to do with my wants, my needs, my pleasures, my drives, those kinds of things. So even the smallest ways that we are conditioned, these are different ways that we can really look at what's not in alignment for us, ways I look at what's not in alignment for me. And when I feel that misalignment, or when I feel that piece that doesn't resonate with my heart space truth, just witnessing it is a huge piece. That there's this huge momentum that comes from saying, this doesn't really align with me. This is not one of my truths. And once we witness just one of those things, it can be, this magnificent, huge human rights piece, or it can just be something as small as I don't have to eat when I wake up. It hurts my stomach when I eat as soon as I wake up. So these are the different ways that I can sort of cultivate eating better in my life, ways that are my rules. These are my choices, my independence, my judgments on my own life, rather than just always receiving this external decision of what our life should look like. And just one small piece, just witnessing one way that, maybe we're living lives not in alignment with our highest good, or not in alignment with our highest truth, and setting the intention to sort of change that, really sitting with it, and deciding, this is not good for me. Just that one small transition transforms everything. It's that gateway into saying, hey, I decide to live the life that I want. I decide to live the life according to my rules and what's good for me and what brings me pleasure and what brings me joy and what brings me peace. And when we speak of human rights, going back to even that concept, when we go internal and we really witness how we feel about things, not how social media tells us how to feel about things, when we really receive and we educate ourselves and we listen and we witness, and then we go internal and decide what's true to us, what's truth for us, what resonates in alignment with our heart space, we can bring that into the world. And not only are we a wayshower for people who may not be able to step internal and have the confidence to speak out their truth, but we also cultivate this compassion and awareness and availability to be with other people in the world and allow their heart truth to come forward, allow their personality and their independence and their true selves to come forward as well. Because I don't think that it's possible, just like you can't possibly love somebody if you don't love yourself. If that's not an available component for you, then you're not able to bring that into the world. I think it's the same with being independent and being free and deciding who we are. And once we start to cultivate that, we can allow we have that availability we bring to the world where we witness somebody else's courageous heart truth, somebody else's courageous independence and freedom and coming forward with their own real truths and not living in response to these external judgments. And I think that the piece here that's important is finding that way to witness what is not in alignment with us, finding a way to really witness those pieces that are, that are not our heart speak, that's not our true self coming forward, and then going on that trajectory, that momentum building path of moving into our authentic, vulnerable, and courageous expression of, our own truth and our own heartfelt alignment. And all it takes to start that is intention. I think that that's the key, is this intention of deciding that I do want to live a life according to who I am, and I don't want to live a life according to the rules that someone else has set forth for me. Even if those rules make things easy for me, I think it's important to witness how something may be empowering you, but in reality, it's still dulling that sense of independence, that sense of really uncovering who you are. So a couple of different ways that I do this in my practice, that my community does this, and different ways that I do this with my clients. We'll do journaling exercises where when something triggers us, whether we're angry, we're sad, we're elated, we don't really judge the emotions that it's bringing up. We sort of journal these pieces. And sometimes we journal and burn things because sometimes we're journaling really, things that we don't want to actually look at again. But it's about this really vulnerable journaling, about this really vulnerable journey inward to uncover our truth about certain situations. And that, is not always pretty, and it's not always, sometimes it's shocking even to see what really comes out of us when we set the intention to really speak our own truth. And there's a lot of beautiful shadow work there. But what's nice is it's an intentional journey of deciding that who you are, your vulnerable, courageous, authentic self, as that comes forward, there's this really beautiful purpose, this really beautiful divine nature, our higher selves, that's starting, that sees this light and sees this way out of all of this conditioning and programming, that's sort of holding us down and squashing our lights. And another really great way, I've been talking a lot about this because I've been relaunching the spiral for the past probably week and a half, but the spiral is really another way. Any type of emotional clearing, but especially the spiral, is really an amazing way to be able to sort of undo this patterning and conditioning of the world around us, So the spiral uses kinesiology, which is this muscle testing, to seek out the earliest installations of conditioning and patterning around certain emotions. And then it uses Chinese meridian theory. So in yoga and in Chinese theory, Chinese meridian theory, there's all these super highways, these energy highways that run through the body. They're nadis in yoga, they're meridians in Chinese meridian theory. And when energy, as we condition and program ourselves, as we sort of heap on these not self-truth, these not self-untruths, we'll call them, we create these blockages, we create these stagnancies, we create these pieces that are sort of blocking that energy flow within our body that allows our true self to really flow and be in fluidity and be expressive. So once we identify those pieces, those installations, we'll use Chinese meridian theory to clear the different meridians associated with the different organs, the different energy centers, to make sure that those installations are cleared from the body and they're gone for good. So that's one of the reasons I really love the spiral, and that's one of the reasons it's really an expedited way to clear these different not self behaviors, is because once you clear something, it's gone. It's absolutely gone, and the work, the integration afterwards is learning how to live without these patterns and conditioning. And just like one small awareness of what's in alignment for us, one small awareness of what's not a truth for us, when you do the spiral and you just wipe away a whole old belief system, a whole old narrative, this, what my religion told me to live, what thousands of years of my ancestors have told me to, how to behave as a woman or how to behave as a mother. Once you clear this out, you're sort of forced to sit with, well, who do I want to be as a mother? How do I want to show up as a mother? How do I want to show up as a woman? How do I want to show up as a lover? Do I want to get married? Do I want to have one partner? What kind of partner do I want? Where are my pleasures? There's all these different questions, and it sets you on that momentum of really figuring out who you are at your core. So that's one of the reasons I really love doing the spiral, no matter how many times I go through it with my clients and myself. It's really amazing to witness how people show up in the world when we take away the ways that we have sort of choked that light by just filling us up with not truths and different stories and narratives that really don't align with who we are. So in that vein, you guys know that I'm relaunching the spiral. So if you have any interest in the spiral, I have one more spot left at $1,444, and then a handful of spots at $1,777. They both have payment plans available. It's normally $19.99, and that's still an amazing price for this type of energy work and how long we'll be working together on this. But again, regardless of whether or not you do the spiral, although I think it's an amazing modality and I recommend it for everybody, really finding that space of vulnerable and authentic expression, taking a moment to set the intention to say, I'm not going to respond to this external world, whatever that looks like for you. I'm not going to respond to these judgments, these narratives, these stories. I am going to sit back, take a breath, and decide to step into my life the way that I want to step into my life. And taking a moment to really witness what that truth is.